It's a pick made from the antler of a red deer.
Oh, yeah.
Antler picks were used as the means of excavating these features, ditches and pits during the Neolithic. You can imagine people using these picks to lever out the great chunks of chalk, prizing it out, and then putting it into baskets and pulling it out of the hole. An enormously labour-intensive task. When they got to the bottom and when they finished, maybe it was broken and they just dropped it, or maybe they just deliberately left it there, almost as an offering.
But how did people move the giant sarsens, up to 45 tons of solid rock? How did they raise lintels to the tops of those gate-like structures called trilithons? To archaeologist Mike Pitts, the process involved manpower and myth.
We're about 20 miles north of Stonehenge, and this area is probably where all the big stones, the sarsens at Stonehenge, came from. This landscape now looks very much as I think it would have been in the Neolithic. So we have the trees, we have the forests growing, expressing life, and we have the stones in thousands lying largely under the ground like bodies. These are places that could be repositories of superstition, of myth and fear and danger.
To find a sarsen of the right size and shape for Stonehenge may have been a sacred quest for the most skilled stonemasons.
Like a Michelangelo, they'd examine the stone very carefully. These are guys that are used to making stone tools. They understand stone. And I think a Stonehenge mason would have looked at a stone like this as something that he's used to making, like a stone axe or an arrowhead, but enlarged into a huge scale.
Masons may have roughly shaped the sarsens at the quarry site, using pounding stones. But they left few clues to how they moved and raised giant stones.
1, 2, 3.
So researchers have experimented. Stone Age Britain did not have the wheel, but people may have pulled large stones over rollers made of tree trunks.
2, 3, 4.
Perhaps they laid timber tracks and slathered them with grease. A wooden sled with a keel would have kept the stones centered over the tracks. Raising a giant stone involved somehow tipping it into a giant hole.
1, 2, 3, whoa!
Lintels may have been pulled up ramps and levered into place. All these techniques are plausible. There's just no evidence they were actually used. Now, there's a new theory. Andrew Young became obsessed with carved stone balls during graduate work at the University of Exeter. Some of these prehistoric objects are elaborately engraved, but many are unadorned. Most have been found in northeast Scotland, an area known for its stone circles. These artifacts defy explanation.
People had said they might be weapons or for throwing or possibly pounding vegetables, kinds of things that you could do with a portable stone object. Nothing that anybody had really said about them satisfied my question, what are they for?
Young taught himself to carve replicas and pondered one strange fact. Many carved balls, engraved and plain, have exactly the same diameter.
Large numbers that are identical in size to the millimetre. And why would they need to be identical in size? And that just gave me that eureka moment. Wow, if you're going to use them as a wheel, you need them to be the same size.
Andrew Young had a vision of Stone Age ball-bearing technology. For his PhD thesis, he's testing his idea at a farm near Stonehenge.
So this one's high.
He's joined by a team of fellow students. and his graduate advisor, Bruce Bradley, an authority on experimental archaeology.
All right, let's move them back towards each other.
Andy brought this theory to me. I was astounded because it just made sense. It's just so obvious. Why didn't somebody think of this before?
With rails made of Douglas fir, they'll build 80 feet of track.
It's not straight though.
Each rail has a channel cut into it to hold granite balls hand-finished to a precise 75-millimeter diameter. They'll also use wooden balls. During the time of Stonehenge, people were skilled at carving stone and wood and could have produced all these components.
That's a lot better.
Instead of a giant stone, the team has 25 tons of gravel, and Andrew Young has his concerns.
I'm really worried about the type of wood we used. They would probably have used oak in the Neolithic. We haven't been able to use oak because of the cost. The wood we've got is perhaps too soft.
They build a platform, a crib to straddle the rails and carry the weight.
The worst fear would be that we'd get just a couple tons on there and we couldn't push it anywhere. There's a lot of unknowns right now, and that's what experiments are all about.
They load 3.3 tons, roughly the weight of a bluestone at Stonehenge.
1, 2, 3, go. Keep it going. Keep it going. Oh, darn.
Almost immediately, they're stuck.
Oh, man, what happened?
The weight is crushing the Douglas fir.
You know, this amount of weight seems to have compressed it enough that we're losing our gap.
It's less than a centimetre, and that is not good.
No.
As soon as you've got that crib touching the rail, you just got friction. You've totally undermined everything we've done with the balls.
Young's worst fear about the soft wood has come true. But there's a quick fix. To offset the compression of the Douglas fir, they place wooden inserts in the grooves.
Eastern 23 mil.
The gap is back, at least for now. They load up nearly 6 tons, roughly the weight of 2 bluestones. Can they do it?
Look at the division of labor all of a sudden. How'd that happen?
Hey, you girls, the call will be giddy up.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Go!
It's moving! Ah! Come
Watch
on!
yourself.
Keep going, folks!
Keep at it. Let's get on those wood balls. We're gaining speed. Whoa! Hey!
We've moved the bluestones, and once it was going, we were going.
Yeah, we were having a hard time stopping.
We're not as heavy as the Sarsens at Stonehenge, but I'm convinced that that's it. We can move the Sarsens, no problem.
The largest sarsen at Stonehenge weighs some 45 tons. How much can this rig handle? The team has one more day to find out. Moving the sarsens was just one challenge for the builders of Stonehenge. They also had to carve these giants to fit together. How did they achieve such precision? Just outside Stonehenge, Parker Pearson's team noticed small pieces of sarsen emerging from, of all things, molehills.
The little molehills allowed us to see that there was sarsen under the ground as little chips were dug up by these little furry creatures.
A small trench revealed an astonishing carpet of stone fragments, debris from the dressing of giant stones.
The stone dressing trench has produced fantastic surprises. This is where the stones were lying and having their faces trimmed and bashed, and we've been able to find in that tiny trench 50 hammerstones.
This is a hammerstone. It actually fits quite nicely in the hand, as it turns out, and you can see all the pitting around the outside where it's been banging against something. The Neolithic builder would literally have stood alongside the stone to do the more fine-scale work. It's going to take ages just to get that fine shape. Stonehenge is an expenditure of labour on a grand scale. You know, it's easy for us to forget that these people were creating something which had never been created before. It's a bit like their own space program.
Stonehenge is a masterpiece of Stone Age technology. But what did it mean to the people who built it? Was it simply the burial ground of a royal family, or was there more to the monument? An enduring theory about the meaning of Stonehenge dates back to an observation made by 18th century scholars. They noticed that the entrance to Stonehenge faces the rising sun on the longest day of the year, the summer solstice. By the 1960s, people had embraced the monument as an observatory, used by ancient astronomers to track the sun and moon. Some astronomers even claimed the mystery of Stonehenge had been solved.
Well, let's get one thing clear. This wasn't some sort of astronomical instrument.
Clive Ruggles has written the book on ancient astronomy. An archaeologist and astronomer, he ran his own studies of Stonehenge.
Everyone thinks that it's some sort of ancient observatory that incorporated lots of alignments. In fact, we archaeologists are only confident in one alignment at this monument, and that was the main axis that you see here.
This axis runs right through the center of Stonehenge and down its avenue. In this direction, it points at sunrise on the summer solstice, around June 21st.
On those few days around the longest day of the year, just as the sun rises, you would have seen a shaft of sunlight coming right into this. It would have been a very spectacular effect. The thing is, if the axis is pointing at midsummer sunrise this way, then it also has another direction. We come round the site. You have to do a bit of imagining here. We've got these big trilithons, 1 and 2, standing here. There was another one standing here. We've only got one of the uprights left. Then, in fact, the axis in this direction points at the sunset on the shortest day of the year, midwinter sunset. So the sun will be coming down like this and setting in this direction along the axis.
This extraordinary alignment sheds light on the beliefs and rituals of people in the ancient world.
Stonehenge isn't the only place that has an astronomical alignment built into it. There are many ancient peoples all over the world who've incorporated alignments on the sun, the moon, sometimes the stars. And what it's probably telling us is about a connection in people's minds between the sun and the seasonal cycle, and how by having the right ceremonials at the right time, they could keep in harmony with the cosmos.
The alignment at Stonehenge suggests the solstices were important times of year for the people who built the monument. Mike Parker Pearson has unearthed evidence supporting that idea, though he didn't set out to study Stonehenge.
I never thought I'd be doing any work here in a million years, and I had many other interesting things to do, so it was a series of accidents that really led to our project getting up and running.
He had spent years in Madagascar studying traditional burial practices. Here, people build stone monuments for the dead. They believe stone belongs to the realm of the ancestors. The realm of the living is built of perishable materials, like wood. In 1998, Parker Pearson happened to visit Stonehenge with an archaeologist from Madagascar.
When my colleague Ramilson saw all of this on a cold February morning, it was something of a bombshell, because what he was to say was to change archaeologists' understanding of this monument completely and to lead to a huge new program of archaeological research.
I believe